everyone, and welcome to our panel about implementing industry certifications in CTE classes. My name is Kimberly with iCEV, and we are glad to have you all here. I'm going to let all of these lovely ladies introduce themselves. So Lynn, why don't you get us started?
I'm Lynn Willever-Talene, and I teach in Arizona. I teach agriculture and welding. Currently in my program, I have used the veterinary science certification, the livestock judging certification, and the Elanco animal science certification.
Awesome. Well, we're glad you're here with us today. Lisa, where are you at?
I'm Lisa Butler, and I teach at Snyder High School in Snyder, Texas. I teach culinary arts, and this year we implemented the Center for Financial Responsibility Personal Financial Literacy Certification. I also offer ServSafe certification, and then I've taught business and marketing in the past, and when I was teaching that course or those subjects, I used the Express Employment Professional Career Preparedness certifications.
Fantastic. And Meredith, tell us a little bit about your program.
Okay, I teach agriculture at Narragansett High School, where we have a large and active Future Farmers of America program, FFA. So personally, I just do the floriculture certification, but I love it. And my school does many different certifications through our agriculture program. We have 3 ag teachers.
Fantastic. Well, we are glad that you're all here. You represent a variety of courses and programs, so I think this will be a great discussion. First of all, I think all of our viewers will want to know why you implemented industry certifications in your classes. So Lisa, why have you chosen to include those specific industry certifications in your classes?
Well, in Texas, the expectations on CTE have really increased in the past few years, and putting a more, I guess, a stronger emphasis on the CTE programs that we have. And so one thing that our district wanted to do was include industry certifications, not only to help the students, but also to help with local accountability. And so it's kind of twofold. It helps our school in that way to meet local accountability expectations, but it also just helps prepare the students for life after high school. Like I said, I have the financial literacy certification, and that helped with employability skills that I was teaching in my courses. But it really just helped kids because a lot of them have jobs outside of high school, whether they're in restaurants or in other areas around our community, and they have to know how to manage their finances. They also need to know what a W-2 form is and how to save money and how to manage their finances. So that's really why I chose this specific one for my courses.
Definitely. Meredith, you mentioned that you include the Principles of Floral Design certification in your program. Why did you select that certification specifically?
Well, we have an intro to floriculture, and then we have an advanced floriculture class. And so for the advanced students, that's their final exam at the end. But we have found that it's been helping them get jobs. It increases their confidence. It also just increases the knowledge of what we're doing. So we have those certifications up on the wall for people to see when people come and do tours of the school. Those metal boards that you provide, the iCEV provides, that we have on the wall. People are looking at those, reading those. Old students come back and see their names. So we're just finding it creates a lot of pride, and it creates a lot of really hands-on use. Kids are putting those certifications to use to get jobs.
Definitely. Lynn, what made you choose to start implementing industry certifications in your classes?
So implementing the industry certifications really helps students to gain the skills when they get ready to go out and either get a job or even go to college. Actually, we just started this FFA program at Samuel High School where I teach, and this coming year will be the 3rd year the program's been going, and a lot of the students are interested in animal science and pursuing careers either in that field or in veterinary science. And so I've kind of tried to let the students choose which they thought would be most beneficial based on where they think they're going to go after high school, if they're going to go out and get a job or if they want to continue on to college, just to really help prepare them better for the future.
Definitely. Lynn, you were saying that your students have kind of driven what certifications you have chosen to offer. Lisa, the certifications that you've chosen, did you select those based on any needs within the community, whether that's driven by local employment needs?
Yes, I did. And actually, one of the main reasons why we chose this to offer in the spring semester was because of the situation that we had being shut down with COVID-19. Because a lot of families were going through some hardships. In our area, we have a large oil field industry, and a lot of families were losing jobs. And so it kind of made it where a lot of our students had to pick up the slack. And so for them to be able to manage their finances and learn how to budget and handle the issues that they had at home within their families was a large reason why we chose this one. We wanted to choose it anyway, but it was very timely whenever we got shut down around in March. And it was actually really nice because when we were switching to virtual learning too, this was the best platform that we had because the students could be self-paced, they could do it at home. iCEV graded it for me. And so it was really, really handy whenever we went to virtual learning at home, but it helped the students on their jobs too. And actually one of our students, we use this in our whole CTE department. So our ag department used some of it. Our ag department also used floral design, or the floral certification in our floral design club. But that's one of the best things that I heard from one of our CTE teachers. She teaches the early childhood education and development, and one of her students went to apply for a job, and she emailed and said, "Miss Hunter, I understood what they were talking about when they were mentioning W-4s and 401ks because of the certification that we went through." And she said, "I would have never known it if we hadn't have gone through the certification program." So it really did help out our students not only gain a certification, but to gain real skills that they can use right now.
That's awesome. That's what we like to hear. Meredith, how do you implement the Principles of Floral Design certification in your classes? You mentioned that it's a end of course exam for your advanced floral design students, but tell me about the process of preparing them for the certification exam at the end of the year.
Well, that took me a little time to get good at. This is several years now that we've offered the certification, but it's quite technical no matter what the certification is in, and my school uses many different ones. But you have to familiarize yourself with it first and then change the way you're teaching a little bit. And I've had a teacher's assistant who's someone who has taken the exam before, and part of what I have them do in the classroom is usually a senior, is help with study guides and things for the students to stay on track. And then I just make sure they finish so many of the activities by a certain date, and I grade those along the way by how far along their iCEV is. But as I believe Anne mentioned, it's great, the virtualness of it, because the way the world has changed, it really was able to keep the kids on track and everything during this COVID time. So it was extra handy now, but I have loved it over the years. It's and I've learned some new things when I watch some of those activities too. So
yeah, definitely.
It took me a couple of years to get good at it, but we prepare them by just doing them gradually over time. And so, it's a very hands-on class. And so on a certain day in between orders, like we do community orders, we do weddings, we do all kinds of, so in between on a dull day, you can catch up on iCEV and check in with each student individually. And it's nice that you get the reports back on where each one is. So.
Yeah. So Lynn, you guys offer several different certifications. So how do you balance preparing the different classes for those different certifications?
So all the certifications that we're currently offering are all related to animal and veterinary science. So what I do is I split out those lessons throughout the year. So the students are responsible to do like 1 a week or 2 a week, depending on where we're at in the schedule. And then I kind of try to hit in the class the things that are covered throughout multiple of those certifications, because a lot of the stuff will cross since they're all content related. In our school, unfortunately, is we're lacking in not only computer technology, but in internet access. And so it worked out really well for them to be able to choose what they want and work on it a little bit at a time throughout the year, because then they could work on it both in school and they could work on it at home. So it just worked out really well that way.
Now, do you require all of your students to attempt a certification exam, or is it an optional addition to them?
So since this is only the second year that we finished in the program, we required all the juniors to attempt a certification. Moving forward, we're actually going to require all of the juniors and seniors. And then it's my hope, though, that some of the freshmen and sophomores will also elect to try for a certification. And we redid our curriculum for the school because we got new agriculture standards in Arizona. And so when we aligned them, we aligned every year with a certification that it fit the best with. So then we're going to go ahead and offer, if the students want to do that every year, they'll be able to.
That's fantastic. Lynn, I know that you just began using the Center for Financial certification this year, but did you require each of your students to complete the certification exam, or was it a optional?
Well, the intention was for the students to be required to complete the exam. Unfortunately, because COVID happened, we have a lot of students in our area who are in dead zones. And so even if we provided them with a hotspot, they wouldn't be able to get internet service because there just is no cell phone provider. So there were several students, unfortunately, this year that weren't able to take the certification just because they did not have access to be able to get on the internet. But I did have all but I think 3 students that did take the certification. And going forward, as long as we're in school, we are going to require them to go ahead and do the certification test, and we count it as part of their final assessment grade.
Awesome. Meredith, do you guys require your students to attempt the certification exams?
Yes.
Outside of the forum?
Well, I'll answer too for some of the other classes because we have our career and tech department is growing. And so since we followed all the career and tech standards, and we have students from other districts that attend our school now for career and tech, so we've had to, legitimize everything and kind of promote everything we do. So we find that this is helping with a lot of the promotions that students are leaving with certifications, and that's attracting students from other districts. So we do require in each class that we offer, pretty much there's different certifications. And so if the district has paid for that, if we have paid for the iCEV technology, then we look at that as we have a commitment to get them a certification for the money our district is spending. At least that's how I personally feel. So each student is required to take one and hopefully pass. And I'm finding most of them do if you prepare correctly.
Yeah, that's the goal, right?
Yep.
Lisa, when you just started using the Center for Financial Responsibility certification, and when you were telling your students about it, how are you promoting it to them? How are you, kind of selling it to them that this was something important that would benefit them?
I told them that it does cover the employability skills that we have in the class, because they're thinking, I'm taking a culinary class, I should be cooking. But they have to understand that even when you are working in a restaurant, you have to be able to manage your money. You have to be able to manage expenses. Wherever you're going to be taking home a paycheck, and you need to be responsible with the funds that you've been given. So after I told them it's something that you can use right now, no matter what your finances are, you can learn something from it, and it's something that you can take for the rest of your life. They were buying in, and especially when they started going through the course and thinking, oh, I can use this with the job that I have now, or I can help my parents with this aspect of it. They really had more buy-in on that.
That's awesome. Lynn, when you're talking to your students, how do you explain to them the applicability of these industry certifications in the industry?
Well, we talk about how those the skills that are presented in there are going to be able to transfer into the job, and how just because you go out and you're going to work in a place and they show you how to do the skill, that doesn't mean that you necessarily understand why you're doing the skill or how it's going to benefit the industry overall. And so this will help them to just be better prepared with the background knowledge, why they're doing things, That way, when they get to the how part, they have a good idea of why it's so important to be doing it correctly and how it's really going to benefit them, not only if they go out into industry, but also further down the line if they decide to go to college.
Definitely. Meredith, when you said you have several students from other districts coming into your programs, when you're talking to those parents of those students who are considering sending their kids to your program, what do you tell them about the value of industry certifications?
Oh, it's one of our selling points. We list all the certifications that our classes offer, and we give several examples of kids who have jobs in those areas. Usually we have students there to talk to the parents and answer their questions so they can tell you the value themselves. And like Lynn said, it's that background knowledge that they get. We do a lot of the hands-on in our classes, but each student at their own pace can get a full set of the background knowledge. And so they have that when they go into work. They have the hands-on skills from the class time, and they have all the background knowledge from the iCEV that you might not remember to say each year, but it's right there in print and they have to answer it. So we use it as a selling point, the certifications, and I think the students are quite proud of them, and we display them on the wall, and I just think they're extremely useful, and they give the kids a lot of pride and a lot of confidence.
That's great. So Lynn, have you had any success stories of students who have earned industry certifications? I know you're relatively new to including certifications in your program, but do you have any students who maybe were able to find employment, or students who, have come back to you later on and, talked about how the certification benefited them?
So at a school prior that I worked at, I have had several students graduate with the certifications, and it has helped some of them to gain employment because they were able to have a lot more knowledge, and then they were able to go out and get a job with that. Matter of fact, one of the young ladies that graduated actually earned 3 different of the certifications from CEV, and we actually hired her at our school to be a parapro with the agriculture department so that she could help with tutoring students and helping them get their skills. And then I had another student who earned the veterinary science certificate and went on to college into an undergrad veterinary program there. And she said it really helped her be ahead of the game because she already knew a lot of the stuff that they were talking about in the classes. And it just really helped her prepare so she could be more successful in college.
Yeah, of course. Meredith, you've mentioned that you've had several success stories of students. Is there one in particular that you'd like to share?
Well, we had a student open her own flower shop, and so she put her certification right up on the door, not the door, but the wall. And then I've had 2 students this summer that, they said, is it printed yet? Because I'm applying at the new flower shop that opened in town. We didn't have one in our town until about a month ago. It couldn't open because of COVID. So it was a nice opportunity for them. And we do have several students who went into college in the veterinary sciences and used their certification on their applications. So mostly they're using it on the college applications or for direct employment. We had a student who went into school for veterinary science, but she got a job in the floral department at her local, it's like, I don't know if you guys, we have a Belmont, it's like a specialty shop around here. So it's a specialty shop that has a big floral department. And then she met farmers through there and ended up getting a job working on a farm with the animals. And so the flowers got her there.
That's awesome. Lisa, you're pretty new into offering the CFR certification, but with the other industry certifications you've offered in classes in the past, what has been the success of that?
When I taught business and marketing, I offered the Express Employment Career Preparedness Certification. In that program, I also taught the Career Preparation and Work-Based Learning program. And the students, when they were going through that certification, that really helped them to be better employees in the job that they currently had. And also the certifications are great on resumes and job applications, and it really does help them get jobs in the future. And so the previous students that I had, it really did help them in the current jobs that they had, just to either keep their jobs or to advance in their programs. But it really did help them get new jobs in the future. And so that one was a really beneficial program that we used, or certification that we used.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, right? Well, we are almost out of time, ladies, but Lynn, if you could tell us, what would you tell a teacher who was considering implementing industry certifications in their classes? What advice would you give them?
I would tell them to go ahead and try the CEV platform. I don't think they'll be disappointed because the students really like it. It's easy for them to use. It's easy from a teacher aspect because you can customize it with whatever you're already doing in the classroom to make it work for you however you want it to work. And it's super easy because it's already rated. It's one of the best programs out there and the best platforms to use, especially with having to be now being online, a lot of it.
Meredith, what would you tell someone who was thinking about including industry certifications in their CTE programs?
I would tell them to definitely move forward. It helps them with the program and advertising your programs and legitimizing your programs. It helps the students immensely get more pay per hour at those jobs because they have certifications. So they'll be either hired before somebody else or they'll be hired at a higher pay. It helps for college applications. So there's no negative side effect. And like Lynn said, it's very easy to use. The students can do it at their own pace. So it's very adaptable and very beneficial.
Thank you. And Lisa, what would you tell someone?
There's so many certifications that you offer. I would find the one that fits your program the best. Do your research, look through their curriculum because there are different options, and find the one that fits your program and the needs of your students. But it is very easy to use, especially because we're uncertain about the upcoming school year. It's very easy to implement if you're doing an online learning platform, but also you can switch back and forth into the classroom too, because you can teach it face-to-face as well. But it's very easy to use, like I said. It's nice because it grades it for you. You can track your students' progress on there, see which questions that they need a little bit of extra help on, because there's a lot of data behind it. You can see where your students need the most help. So it's really beneficial, but find the one that fits your program the best.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us. I hope the viewers will enjoy this as much as I have. And we will see you all for a Q&A. Thank you so much for joining us.